How have you been, man?
Fantastic. Just every day keeps getting better.
Well, you know what I was excited about to have you on. We had you on last season, and we learned all about you. So this one, I really want to focus on self improvement, encouraging the masses, getting your take and your perspective on some things. Well, the thing that I am very excited about is that you told me, you say, I got a lot more to share. And I took that as like, not so much as words, like actual like words of but just gratitude, just a feeling of love, joy. I can sense it in you, man. And I love it. And God bless you. And I'm so grateful that you're feeling that way, man. Just talk about it a little bit and then we'll get started.
Awesome. As far as, just recently, just continuing to work on myself, each and every day. Got really back into jiu-jitsu a lot and really feeling like martial arts is the connection and the bridge for me to work with other people as well as to, help them heal. So I've been doing jiu-jitsu a lot, been a lot more involved in church. My church, I go to Calvary Chapel, and then I just started going to another church. So, and then another church, I guess. and mind you, I grew up going to church, Catholic church, and absolutely hated it. Just like, there's, I made up every excuse to get out of going to church. And now here I am going voluntarily. Easter Sunday, I went to three different services I went to 4 different services that weekend, 3 on the same day. And I was ecstatic about it. Like I did, and it's not, the message is great. I do love the message, I also hear it very differently now compared to before, but it's just more so the community and the connection. And I realize just building consistency. And that's what I feel is so important, is building relationships. And so that's what I've been working on a lot now, is building relationships, consistent relationships. I know that when I keep showing up to whatever, to church or the men's group or jiu-jitsu, that will bring in the trust from these people. Because one of my goals, like you, is to reach out to people to help them heal and to help, because I truly believe, and I think you'd agree with me, even those people that haven't fallen down into the deep, dark pits that we have are in some deep, dark pits themselves and just don't realize it.
Yeah.
Because before the drugs, it was food, it was porn, it was all these other things that had me, in shackles. And I thought life was okay. You know what I mean? I was a cop, I was married, I had kids, I had 2 cars, I had a house, I had 2 side jobs. I thought I was, I hate to say this, but I was miserable. I had moments of happiness, but there was no peace. And I think you'd agree with that. And I see that in everybody, because I'm seeing the red flags. I'm seeing all the crutches, the vices. The one of my favorite terms now is dopamine stacking, and I'm seeing that left and right. Downtown Oceanside. People sitting at the bar, drinking, eating, smoking a vape, on their phone, and just completely checked out.
Wow.
And you see that everywhere. And then I think back to my mom. My mom passed of cancer. And everybody that was there for a funeral, oh, she was the funniest, she was the night. And I look back, I'm like, she was miserable. She was so depressed. And you can see, again, the red flags, because the other red flags are staying inside a lot, staying away from God, staying away from community, staying away from... How many people have you met? Oh, I love God, but I don't like, I don't like people. So you like the creator, but don't like his creation? Or how many people, oh, I love people, but I hate God?
Yeah, either way. Man, I noticed that a lot, and I think that it's a challenge for people like us, or anyone in the self-improvement industry. For the people, the most is that people that have followed a road similar to ours. We went down some dark paths. We have experienced some very low lows and rock bottoms. And the thing about that rock bottom is, it's what you spoke about it last episode. It's like that gift of desperation, man. Like I think back at that moment in that cell, I still remember the nasty green paint, chipping off the bunks and all. And I remember that moment of like clarity, like where all the drugs wore off and all the narcissism wore off and all the predisposed information and presumptions and assumptions, everything just fell away. And I had this moment of clarity of like, man, there's no one there for you. There's no one going to save you. You did all this to yourself, but with that same power, I can now turn that around The same power that I use for darkness, misery, death, and destruction, I can, change that into positivity, love, peace, and kindness. But all those things without being naive and still have the ability to be tough and strong. Uh, but we get that. And that moment of desperation, that rock bottom, it opens up opportunity for people like us. And it provides opportunity for other people to plant those seeds that you so desperately need when you're in those moments. But I agree with you, man. Like, I see suffering on a broader level in just everyday citizens. It's like, I love Florida. I love living here. I moved here because of when everything went haywire with the scamdemic and they were shutting everything down in Jersey. I don't live that life. I don't wear the mask. I don't do the thing. I'm not doing none of that. So I came to Florida, and I'm here for that reason. I'm here because Florida prosecutes criminals. I'm here because Florida protects people from squatters. I'm here because Florida banned China from buying farmland. I'm here because Florida made digital currency illegal. And that's why I'm here. And I'm going to make that clear, right here on Creating Greatness Season 4. I'm going to be a little more vocal about how I feel because I just got to be me. I prayed on it. I meditated upon it. And this is just what it is. But I see this state that I love so much. Part of the fun of it, even for myself, I get caught up in it, the nightlife. And it's a very vice-like culture. There's people that are addicted to plastic surgery. I'm sure you see that in California. And no offense to anyone that's doing that. I know that there are certain situations where it's necessary or at least, useful for people. But man, you see people that look crazy, it looks bad. It doesn't look and then you got people addicted to the vape, and then they have the kava bars out here that are super popular. If you drive down any boulevard in Florida, man, it is like nightclub, exotic dancer club, vape store,
Tattoo shops.
And right. Well, hey, what's wrong with a tattoo?
I got plenty.
But yeah, you're right though. And I think the people that live that life that, they're not sinking down with drugs. They're not sinking down in homelessness. They're not sinking down into, severe degradation. They still have their house. They're still paying their mortgage, their car payments on time. These are the people that are like the hardest to reach. Like, do you understand that if you're accomplishing all that? This is what I tell people. See what I did as an average Joe. I don't never put myself on a platform like I'm this wonderful human being that figured out all these things. I was a hot mess, dude. And now I'm just able to survive and maneuver and live comfortably. So when I see people able to live comfortably in their home and their car and not lose it all, but they have they overshop, they overeat, they're addicted to technology, things that aren't going to totally destruct your life. But they don't get it, man. And it's like, I'm telling you here now, all my spiritual warriors, I got new listeners in the UK and Ireland, man. Shout out to y'all. So excited to have you. Do you have some of these problems? Hit me up, Creating Greatness Podcast, Gmail, all lowercase. Because if you could accomplish all that with those vices and distractions, imagine what you could actually accomplish, man, if you let all those distractions go and actually leveled up your life. I want to make a couple. So, right, that's the note on what you said. Are you really winning, man? You have the house, you have the car, you have the spouse, well, you have all these vices and blockades from your actual best self in the pursuit of your highest possible version of you that you're just okay with because they're not destroying and destructing your life. Take a sincere look. Take an honest, brutal, honest to God look at yourself. Don't tell me. Don't tell Rich. Don't tell the rest of Spiritual Warriors. But tell yourself. Don't bullshit yourself. The other thing you said was the things that we fought. You say, I fought going to church. I was raised Catholic. I'm as well was raised Catholic. And I went to CCD and all that stuff, and I hated it. I did it as social hour. I was social with all the friends and, all the little girls running around. I was a young buck, wasn't paying attention to God. I'm glad that it provided me the foundation that I understood it to some degree, but totally fought it. You know what else I fought? I fought naps and sleeping. I love sleep. I fought chill days. I love chill days if they're structured, if they're planned. I didn't want to chill. I always wanted to be out and about. And now here goes the funniest thing as I moved older into my 19s and 20s and early 20s before I went to prison for the first time. I fought family. I fought a monogamous committed relationship. I wanted to be the player. I wanted to be what they told me was cool back in the 90s. I wanted to be a player. I wanted to go out and search for a good time, all out in the clubs, all hours of the night and into the morning. And all that chasing to try to find a good time, all that fighting, the family, the righteousness, the kids, the simple life. And I never found the peace and happiness I was looking for there because it was in all the things that I was running from, man. You know, I always tell the story like my vision for my life growing up. If I would have actually ended up with that vision, I would be miserable. Like you were saying, you was a cop, you did this, you had money, you had cars. I would have been miserable. So I encourage people to also take a look at that. Like the things that you fight against may be the things that are going to bring you the most peace in your life. And then now I'm going to pass it over to you because you talk about it a lot. And I got another guest coming on that's a black belt in Wing Chun. His name's Billy whatever. He's got a great YouTube follow. And he does a lot of things like comic books and music and reviews on movies and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different. But we're going to do some self-improvement stuff. And the martial arts seems to play a big key in his self-improvement because the guy had some problem, and we're going to talk about it. I'm not going to, I just want to give people peace, man. There's a lot coming on this season. And you say it's the bridge. I believe that because it's like meditation in motion. So answer me a question. How important is it? And come on, Rich, talk to me because I got a feeling you're a lot better than you let on to. How good are you, man? How good are you?
I'll be honest. I'm just tough. When I fought, I was 4-3-1. Fought at the Playboy Mansion against a former WWE guy who was undefeated. Lost to him by decision. Fought another guy that was undefeated. That was my last fight in King of the Cage, and beat him. My wrestling was okay. My jiu-jitsu was okay. My stand-up wasn't really relevant. I didn't do much, but I was just tough. I've been wrestling since 93, jiu-jitsu since 2002, so I've been doing it for a long time. But my flexibility was never there. My range of motion was never there. My technique was, decent. But again, I just used the toughness, and I always felt like I was behind the learning curve, so I always just really pushed myself with my conditioning. And especially, fighting at heavier weights. A lot of times I'd fight at heavyweight. I weighed 220. My opponents would be 250, 260. So I'd make sure that my cardio and conditioning was great. And I felt comfortable there. But now that I'm doing it for different reasons, for the enjoyment, for the connections, and I work on my flexibility every single day, my range of motion every single day, my technique a lot more. Trying not to beat up my, a lot more grace. Because before there's just a lot of beating up, and I look back and I really truly believe that it was somewhat intentional. You know what I mean? Like because I just the anger inside, the deep hatred. Let me force myself and just push through and shove through with wrestling and football, and just it got tougher and tougher each sport that jiu-jitsu and MMA. So but again, you bring up martial art, it saved my life. It not only kept me going throughout my time. It was a great coping device. It always kept me focused on thinking about that. I'd always go over the matches in my head, even when I was in some dark places. And then obviously it brought me back to it. And, I couldn't be happier. And now I'm doing karate as well and adding that to my, repertoire, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think there's just a common thread there. I see people, not doing it to be a world champion. I'm seeing people doing it and healing from it and getting past, like you said, anger and frustration and hate. And my last question, I want to move on to actual topics that I have written down, but hey, man, I'm glad that we're having this conversation, getting all this new information, because I think that a lot of new people are going to be listening to it and experiencing some benefits from this information. But do you do the martial arts in lieu of a meditation practice? Because I've done some things like Qigong. I don't know if anyone out there has experienced a little bit of that. It ultimately wasn't for me daily. I pretty much stick to like just stretching, like athletic stretching, like I did before football practice in the morning. Maybe I do a little bit of yoga, and then I hit the physical exercise like you've been seeing me post about in the afternoon. But do you do it in lieu of meditation? Does it fit? Does it does it take that practice away, or do you also add some sitting meditation as well?
So it's funny you say that. When I started taking a meditation class in my second rehab, that's when I finally realized that I've been meditating, my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
But I truly believe it took wrestling and jiu-jitsu, these very hard sports, that would get me in that meditative state, because football and soccer and baseball practices, there was just too many gaps. Whereas wrestling, we did our warm-up, we did our technique, and then we just beat each other up. And I had no other option but to be in the now, because if not, my arm's getting, hurt, or my neck's, or this, so, and that was, I feel like my goal was to be present and be in the now. And it took these very tough sports, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, MMA, to get me there. Subconsciously and unintentionally. I do it for that aspect as well. But I also try to sit and be still, and I'll be honest, it's still so hard. I can sit, I can go to the beach or the park and sit there and stretch with no phone, no food, no, nothing, no distractions, but just to sit there and be still. I can maybe do 5 or 10 minutes. It just, my body's still, beat up from the arthritis, the surgeries, and just the mind. It just starts, now mind you, it's not going back to the regrets and the guilts and the shames, but it gets to, okay, what time do I have to be here? What's this? How long I've been doing this? And just so that I continue to keep breathing, but I try to do yoga-esque. Qigong is awesome. I still do movements, from Qigong, usually daily. I started doing Tai Chi about 4 or 5 years ago. I still do that somewhat. And karate has been similar to that when it comes to the katas. Especially once I get them down a bit more, but yeah, that meditative aspect is absolutely crucial and key to just this piece.
Absolutely, man. And I think it's important that you mention all those different practices, Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, because what I found is that the seeking, not finding something and locking into it, and this is what you are. Because I used to make that mistake where I would over-identify with things. I would, I'm extremist. I think a lot of people who battle addiction are extremists. So it's like I would find something and I would dive into it all the way, and that's great because you're learning, but you're also, you're pigeonholing yourself into this niche when there's so much more. So now I'm sort of like what you were saying. I've molded all these practices. I've done the Wim Hof breathing, but I've also done the yogic breathing, the breath of fire, Kalahabati, and all those things. And I've done the yoga, but I've done the Qigong, and I've done the stretching, before football practice and wrestling practice. And, what I've done is just sort of molded all those things, man. And I have a friend, Tony Spencer, who's on a lot of my podcasts. He's very dogmatic in his approach to things, where it has to be strict. And I debate with him about, he says, well, if you're, say, reading the Bible, if you're going by a religious aspect, it's a dogmatic approach. And I just say, not for me. I'm sorry, but I blend elements of Christianity with elements of Buddhism. I blend elements of yoga in with stuff I learned at football practice. Because if there's one thing that's constant within this world, it's change, it's evolution, it's adaptation, it's constantly fluxing and flowing. And I have to build myself to be adaptable and adjustable. That's the number one tool that I've found to be successful in this world, is to be adaptable and adjustable, flow like water. The Bruce Lee saying, I love it so much. I said it a million times here on Britney Green's podcast. But I encourage people to do that. I don't, if you are strict in a certain discipline or religion or philosophy, and that works for you, then that is your mold, baby. That's your mold. But for people like me and maybe Rich, we struggle so much mentally that it turns us to darkness. So when we find something that's good and brings us to the light, I'm not going to deny myself that because it doesn't fit in with my Catholic religion. So I'm just not going to do that. And I encourage people to play with things. Play with things. Maybe you'll find the strict discipline or religion that fits you perfectly. But maybe you won't. And don't let that turn you off to God. Don't let it turn you off to any self-improvement philosophy. Because what I've noticed nowadays more and more is I find people I love, Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate, Dave Goggins, Jocko Wilkes, these guys that just get fire in my blood and get me going. But at the same time, they say stuff that I go, no, that's not for me, dude. It doesn't mean I hate them. it doesn't mean I'm not going to follow. Look at all the benefits they brought into my life. So I encourage you to please do the same with me. I understand I could be abrasive and kind of like in your face, but my intentions is pure. It doesn't have to be. Just a quick note on the meditation, and then maybe we will actually get to the notes. I don't know, whatever. Uh, it doesn't have to be. I hear you discuss that you have a problem sitting still. After all the things you've been through, all the things that you've done, and it's not going back to regrets or past or anything like that. It's just a basic problem, whether it's in the body or the mind, with having that stillness for more than a few minutes. First, I would like to encourage you. 5 or 10 minutes is okay. I've been meditating here for about 6 years now, and I do 30 minutes tops because that's all I need. And most times I don't do 30 minutes because I got shit to do. Pardon my French. I got shit to do. I'm out here in the world. I'm making it happen. I can't be on the mountaintop getting enlightened, man. Not right now. So at night I do close to a half hour. I got this great Mooji meditation, Mooji. This guy's the greatest, man. I really appreciate this guy. And he just says, just sit, just be here. You don't have to be doing anything. You're not waiting for nothing to happen. You're just flowing in your own natural state. So if you could do that for 5 or 10 minutes, I think it's absolutely phenomenal. And then another thing he says, and I believe it, you don't have to fight with your mind. If your mind wants to go, let it go. Let it go. Just don't attach yourself to the thought. Don't go down a rabbit hole of the thought, because still it was very much to my frustration, almost to the point where I stopped meditating. But let me tell you something. Although I never noticed really day to day the difference of meditating, when I stopped doing it, oh boy, do I notice. I'm anxious. I'm frustrated. I get angry faster. I'm snapping at everyone. I'm on edge. So I will not put myself through that. I'm going to go ahead and meditate. But part of the frustration why I stopped was because, like, man, I've been meditating all these years and I still haven't reached anywhere. I can't see it. It's not tangible. And then here it is 5, 10, 15 minutes into the meditation and my brain's still, ooh, hey, you're going to do this, you're going to make that, you're going to do the farm later, you got a podcast later on this day, and then, I'm going to do this reel to promote the pod, all these things. The kids are going to go here later, my wife will be home at this time. All these things that are going to happen nevertheless, they're going to take very little energy of thought and action to handle as they come, but it would frustrate me. So now what I've learned to do, and it really helps me enter this zone where it's not like a trance, but it's just an attention, is where thoughts still flip and rifle, but I don't go down the rabbit hole. I don't go, oh, okay, well, you know what I mean? I just let it flow. I don't attach. I don't identify to any of it. So I would like to say to people out there that are meditating and experience this problem like Rich, because my wife goes through this and we talk about it regularly. Don't let it stop you. Let the mind go. Let it do whatever it wants. Eventually it'll shut up. And the best thing you can do if it don't shut up is, like I say, just don't identify with it. And don't attach your energy to it, man. And it won't disrupt that sort of flow and that state that you're in. So we've got 25 minutes in, man. We got a couple minutes for the topics. Let's see, what is my favorite one? I might as well start right. Redemption. Who better to talk about redemption than you? And something that I've realized lately, because on this road of righteousness, on this path to redemption, I have taken many, many losses, man. I have taken just so many losses. And then we've talked about it, Rich, where I was almost just ready to quit the whole podcast because I just didn't understand why I wasn't working the way I wanted to. And I didn't feel like I was making the impact that I wanted to. Something that I strive for in my life, more than a lot of other things, is to be impactful. Be impactful. They say you could judge a man, maybe I'm paraphrasing, like how he affects those around him. It's like you walk righteously, show others the way to the light, and you impact your environment, whether, be your kid, your family, and now your neighborhood. And so I've always strived for this impactfulness, a positive impact. So that was something that, that made me feel like I'm not winning, I'm going to quit. But other times, just like we've spoken about, there's days where I eat so bad that I'm like torturing myself all night. Like, I can't believe I ate that, I can't believe I ate that much. There's days where, I do have an alcoholic beverage once a month with my wife on date night, maybe one or two. We do a date night once a month. Well, maybe there's a second time a month, you know? Maybe there's a time I lose my anger and I curse at my kids, something that I'm very much against, you know? It's like these slips in behavior, these breaking of your own rules, I could really torture myself and get down in my mind over these small things. But something that always brings me back, man, is the fact that I don't know where I heard this. I know I heard it in a song. This Christian rapper that I love very much, his name is Z-E-E. And he says, the righteous man can fall 7 times. I don't know how many times he says, but he picks up his sword again. And I just think that's true, man. You know, light can take 1,000,000 losses, man. And that's the thing about light. That's the thing about walking in the light. That's the thing about traveling this road of redemption is don't let the losses discourage you, man. You know, I was talking to Tony the other day, and one of the things that I transition over is like I take from Buddhism, and I know that the Buddha says, you know, you can wake up every day brand new. You could be the way that you want to be today if you put in the work, even if you did something totally awful yesterday that made you, you know, beat yourself up and not like the person that you was. So how do you feel about that? You know, being a man of God as you are, being a man that's walking the road to redemption. How do you feel about that? You know, just being able to take 100 losses, 1,000,000 losses, and not letting it discourage you, because sometimes it's tough.
The gift of grace. That was probably the biggest thing because being from the Marine Corps, from wrestling, it was just always it was discipline, but it was also just a lot of beating myself up. Just, you know, it had to be done this way and very, very, you know, very strict, well, I guess was the word. And so, and if it wasn't done that way, you know, if I didn't win, I lost. Even when I won, I lost. And it was just that constant pressure that I was putting on myself. And so finally giving myself grace has been absolutely amazing. Because just everything that you brought up, you know, I don't drink anymore. But again, I think the last time I drank, maybe 6-8 months ago, I had maybe a third drink and I was like, oh, you know, and I was there drinking with a friend and more so to be supportive for him. And, the same thing with, you know, if eating is still, you know, if I shouldn't have eaten that. And then I take some deep breaths and I give myself some grace. And then a story real quick. Last month, I did my 3rd competition. I did 2 last year and then 1 this year. And it was my first 3 times competing since 2008. And so every one of those 3 competitions I went into, I already felt like I won. Because the fact that I was able to walk, to compete, to train, to do anything, I am beyond grateful for. And so the fact that I'm back on that mat competing, I'm like, I already won. And, you know, that for me, you know, but I was also there just to challenge myself, to enjoy life, to see where I'm at. And it wasn't win or lose. The first one I took, the first competition I took first, the second one took third, and the third one I took first. So I lost twice in the second tournament and it didn't beat me up. You know, didn't beat myself up about it. It just, you know, I looked where I need to learn from it, and then I moved on. And that for me is the biggest thing. Even if, I'll be honest, I can't even think of the last time I've had a bad day. To be honest, it's been well over a year now. Mind you, I still have problems. Of course, I still have problems. You know, I had a flat tire back to back last month, and it put a spin in the day. But I breathed. I gave myself grace, and I just, you know, just life's just a lot easier to deal with before. Whereas before I had everything crammed on top of everything. And so if one thing went wrong, just everything just untangled and it just turned into a huge mess. Whereas now, if something doesn't go the way I planned, I can flow with it and pick up, you know, where I need to. And then one other thing is, you know, the connection with Jesus. Once I really got to know Jesus, knowing that my sins have already been forgiven, because I am a sinner. I sin every single day. There's things that I wish I wouldn't have done, but my idea of a sin is much different than I was taught in the Catholic Church, and so me, it's just missing my mark, or you know, it's doing something, you know, again, a rule that I set up for myself that I went back on, and just knowing that my sins have already been forgiven. And I'm just going to continue to obviously work on myself, progress, get to know myself better. Self-mastery, I think, is vital. And then again, learn from it and move on. and not let it hold me back, because that's all I did before was
Yeah.
let it hold me.
Yeah, I mean, that was really my main point is I think that, especially people like us, people that lean to the, I always talk about this because it's very much an enigma in life to me. It's like, why is my default negative? Why is my default, this sucks, I'm a bum? I have to really work hard for that. And, that's why I do the affirmations. That's why I do the repetition. That's why I'm constantly feeding myself through all networks, whether it's social media or television or my children or people that are around me, places that I go, is positivity. I need it. I got enough negative within me to, sort of really infect the area if I allow it. And that's something that I fight very much. And it's also the thing that would keep me in the hole. I would mess up something small and I would just go, all right, well, you effed up, and I guess I'll slap the explicit label on this one is that fuck it button. That fuck it, that fuck it button put me in the worst places imaginable because instead of, catching myself and hop back on the track, I would just spiral down into degradation. And that's my point with this is like, be diligent, be disciplined. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Be a man of your word. But at the same time, we are all human beings. While we may aim towards righteousness, aim towards godliness, we may at times fall short. And matter of fact, a lot of us probably fall short a lot. And I believe in like maybe not beating yourself up, but it's like for me, it's that Dave Goggins voice inside my head that's like, let's go, bitch. Like, come on, stop, stop being a punk. Like, and I need that tough love, sometimes. But don't do it to the point where it spirals you down and you hit that fucker button, man, because that's a very dangerous place to be. A couple notes before we wrap up this episode, man. I gotta say, I got Quantel coming on next week, and you here today. I'll probably publish this episode next Monday, and I enjoy watching you guys on Instagram and all, mixing it up with the brothers. I don't do jealousy. I'm not jealous, but I'm trying to figure out the right word, like in a positive way, like envy or admire the fact that you guys have that brotherhood where you could like mix and cut it up. And I ain't been on the mat in years, but man, I want to get out there, man. Just mix it up a little bit, see where I'm at. I'm probably gonna take some L's. I understand that. I'm not. I'm confident in my ability. I do a lot of working out, a lot of training, man. But I know that you guys have them skills, man. But I just want to say that it makes me happy. Like you see me smiling when I see you guys doing that, and it's something that come a point in my life, maybe my boys get a little older. We find a gym that we like to go to that I can enjoy that same brotherhood and camaraderie and meditation in motion that I see you guys experiencing. It's something that always brings me back to Inner Engineering, a book and a class that I took offered by Sadhguru at Isha Institute of Inner Sciences. And he has this sadhana, which is a practice of precision of movement. And because I don't have that you guys have and mixing it up on the mat, I sort of do it in everyday life whenever my mind brings back to it. If I'm in the garden, I try to be very fluent with my movement. Each movement has a purpose. Even if I'm sweeping the floor, I do it so that my body's doing it fluently. That I'm not, putting extra pressure on any joint or anything like that. When I'm lifting, of course, lifting up things, groceries, what have you. And it really is beneficial at keeping you in the moment when you're just doing everyday tasks. If you don't have the mat to mix it up like my boys. Last thing I want to do, man, is just talk to you about this, celebrating the right things. Something that I'm really doing, like I told you, I've been praying and meditating on who I want to be, what I want to become, what I want to create in this world. And it's really, through God's grace, hitting me very strong here with this new season. And I want to celebrate the right things. I want to talk about the right things. It's like, I love getting money, man. I love getting money. I love being comfortable. I'm guilty. I love going on vacation. I'm guilty. But I want to celebrate the very important things because I remember so many times that I could sit here probably for a whole nother hour and tell y'all about near-death instances that I've experienced. Times where I look back and think, wow, how did I make it out? How did I make it out? But my firm belief is that God spared me where he didn't spare others. God bless, rest in peace. Because we lost so many. We all know somebody that went the wrong way too early. And I just look at my boys, and I look at my wife, and I know how much they need me, and I know how much I need them. So I know, even though there were years before in the making, God had that for me. So he kept waking me up, or kept dodging me out of that sketchy situation. Like I said, with so many others in Paris, man. So in 2024, season 4, Creating Greatness podcast, I'm celebrating health and wealth. And when I mean wealth, I mean health. I mean being here, being alive. I mean the simple things, waking up, I'm smiling. The water's running, I'm smiling. The electricity's on, I'm smiling. The boys are healthy, I'm smiling. My wife is healthy, I'm smiling even more. I got Mom Dukes here with me, helping out with the children, my own little village. I got the pool out back, the yard. I got the garden. I'm pulling fresh fruit and vegetables right out of my backyard, man. I mean, life is so good that it sounds like I'm bragging, y'all. But that's just the basic stuff. And even at my worst time, where I was sitting in that cell having that epiphany about, damn, I'm all on my own, Rob, it's time to turn up, I had things to be grateful for. I made it out. I was here. I'm still standing. Matter of fact, I'm still strong. What do y'all got out there, man? Talk to me, spiritual warriors. Creating Greatness Podcast at Gmail, all lowercase. Rich, let's end it on this beautiful, wonderful note, man. Talk to me what you're celebrating.
Gosh, everything, one part of my story that I didn't tell you, I don't think I really shared, because I don't think I really understood it at the time. And I think you helped me, with that a lot, was when I went up to Orange County after getting sober. I'd been, sober, my version of sober, for about two years or so, after my first rehab. I went up there and got everything back. Or so I thought. I was making more money than I'd ever seen. I was walking around with, anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 in my pocket at all times, $10,000 in my backpack, another $10,000 in my crypto, and then just money flowing in regularly. And I'll be honest, I truly believe that I was maybe a year away from pulling in close to 7 figures. Because I was working security for these underground poker games. I was also, dealing coke, dealing Adderall, but I wasn't a drug dealer, because I was, also still working on myself and my health and my peace and things of that nature. And after the home invasion that I was involved with, that I don't know if I talked about that last time, but before that, about a month before that, wrecked my car, and then had that home invasion, came down here and gave up everything. When I was up there, I was walking around with a 6-pack abs. I was dating girls that were in their 20s and 30s. I had all kinds of money. I was on 5 or 6 different dating sites. I was living in a penthouse. Then I was living in a mini mansion in Huntington Beach in Orange County. And I'm just living a world that I'd never met or seen before. And so when I came down here, I gave it all up. And the opportunities, up there, I am beyond grateful for. The opportunities that I've, came across down here, I'm grateful for. So I'm grateful to have seen those different sides and perspectives, and realize that money and fame and power is not what I want. And it wasn't resonating with me. And so now, for me, consistency, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for, to see how important that's been to my life, because as we were talking about before, grace, I'm looking at the long game. 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, when I keep showing up over and over and over again. If I miss today, or this event tomorrow or the next day because of something else that happened, I'll be there the week after and the week after and the week after and the week, for years down the road. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for all the people that have supported me. Obviously, I'm grateful for God. Jesus has been the absolute most amazing mentor. Coming across him and really creating a relationship. My kids have obviously been my driving force. It's coming up on 4 years since I've seen them. Jacob and Braden, and my other son, Anthony, I haven't seen him since he was 2. He just turned 25 yesterday. And so I know that I will reconnect with all of them someday down the road. I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know when, but I know it's going to happen, because I know that I'm doing the right thing. I know who I am, and I've released myself from the attachments of these things, these expectations that really, really cause a lot of problems, because I had to have it this way. It had to be done today. It had to be. And now I can, again, like we talked about earlier, flow. I can flow with it. And anytime I even get frustrated, I just turn right to gratitude. This car, I think about how grateful for this car I am, that is being basically lent to me from from my boss, for the opportunity I have to give back to the kids and teach, kids in martial arts, as well as learning myself, getting back into jiu-jitsu. And again, just this second chance, and a chance at a life that is absolutely amazing every day.
Awesome, man. I would like to say a quick prayer, man, if it's okay with you, in Jesus' name. If it be in your will, good God, just allow Richard to understand exactly what's need to be done to reconnect with those children, because we know children of all ages still need their father, just like we need you, Lord Father. In Jesus' name, Amen. And I think you got the formula, brother. It's these small, little, tiny steps. It's not about the big, glorious mansion and all the money and all the women. It's about these small, tiny steps. In Buddhism, it's called interdependent organization. And it's basically just the relation between cause and effect of every single thought, action, and deed that you perform. It has an effect. And if you continually doing these tiny little incremental micro moves, man. I talk about it. People think I'm crazy. It's like, go to the bathroom, excellent. Make your bed, excellent. Watch your face, excellent. Take a shower, excellently. Mow your lawn, excellently. Sweep your floor, excellently. And watch those things bleed into all of your endeavors. And I firmly believe that with those things and continuing on that path of righteousness, then that's all going to happen for you, brother. Thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been a wonderful episode. Thank you to all my spiritual warriors for listening in. Make sure you join the group on Facebook. Make sure you follow me on all social media outlets. King of Comebacks, 2Ks, Creating Greatness Podcast. Rich, any closing thoughts? Anything you want to talk about, brother?
Well, and obviously I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for this opportunity to share my story. That's my goal in life, is to be able to share this story, and I call it microdosing, you know what I mean? And that's, I kind of created a program about 2 years ago. I still follow it to this day. I didn't really, produce it, or finish producing. It was called the Power of Three. And it's just simple, 3 sets, 3 reps, 3 minutes, and just doing that on a regular basis over and over and over again. So each and every day I have 20 to 30 things at least that I do, make sure that I do, whether it's, sun, cold exposure, stress to my body, stretching, meditation, breath work, exercise, things and I have certain movements, deep squats and overhead stretches that I again incorporate into my daily life. And so those little microdosing and just again the consistency is just absolutely key. It's just so important. So again, I'm grateful for you and this opportunity to share my story. I'm grateful for everybody around me, and again, this second opportunity of life.
Absolutely, man. We're going to do it again soon. Thank y'all again. Take care.